And today my adventure brings me to the small town of Denton, North Carolina. I'm here in Harrison Park. That's where we're going to kick things off. It's a very beautiful little park. Kind of like it. It's going to be a good day. Well, good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Hitch Hiking Yeti here. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a little brisk. I gotta say, it's a little cool out here this morning. I stopped at the coffee shop on the way in because I did a little homework before I got here, and I figured out that, yeah, if you come to Denton on Sunday, you're probably not going to get any coffee at one of these local coffee shops. So I went ahead and got me a coffee before I arrived to town. Kind of keep me warm my bones a little bit as I get older. It's a little bit tougher to get out in the cold weather early in the morning. It's about 38, almost 40 right now. Actually, it's supposed to warm up about 46 today, but we're going to do a little walk around town, talk a little bit about history, look at some numbers. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out with me. Let's go ahead and get started. And before we leave Harrison Park, I want to show you this little monument they have right here. It's for veterans, American Veterans Post 240, in memory of those who served and those who died in all wars, which was erected in 1987. Okay, I'm looking down Salisbury Street toward the downtown area, and I thought this is just as good a place as any to kind of start our video off, or tour off, if you will, is right here at the Denton Town Hall. Right here's the sign right here on Salisbury Street. Very small little quaint town hall. I think it actually says right there, "In God We Trust," on the side of the building, which I think is pretty cool. The population here in Denton is 1,355, and the median age is 40.5 years of age. That's pretty normal. So from what I read online, Denton is best known for hosting one of the largest antique farm equipment shows in the Southeast every July. The event celebrates rural life, it's steam engines, tractors, crafts, live music, and it all happens over at the Denton Farm Park. Now, that is definitely outside of town, but toward the very end of this video, I do want to go over there and at least see the farm park, because they do a lot of events throughout the year. So I definitely would like to go over there and check that out before we vacate the area. Oh wow, check out that old ghost sign up there. It's like a hardware company store ghost sign. Really can't make out much of it because right down here below it is a newer brick building, I'm thinking. Probably wasn't originally here, or it's been renovated, but this here's called Cowpoke's Coffee Company. That is pretty cool. So just in case some of you don't know what cowpoke is pretty much a cowboy. Cowpoking refers to day-to-day work, ranch life, riding, fencing, moving cattle, branding, general range work. It is not to be confused with cow tipping. You know, that's what they did in the movie Tommy Boy. You know, 32 belly option on two, hut! And look at this old caboose that sits right here next to the train track that passes through town. Denton's real growth began when the North Carolina Railroad reached the area in the 1850s. The railroad turned Denton into a trading and shipping hub for cotton, timber, farm goods, linking it to larger towns like Lexington and Salisbury. And right here next to that is this flatbed wagon. And this is pretty cool because these things, somebody told me one time, these was actually used around train depots back in the day. And a flatbed wagon like this is normally how they moved like items and products from the depot onto the trains. And they still have one here in Denton, so that is really cool. That is some really neat stuff. Well maintained, it's been painted, but it is faded right now, but you don't see every town have one of these hanging around. Unfortunately, I do not see a train depot, but at least we still have a little nugget of the past. That's pretty cool, a flatbed wagon. Nice. And just down the street, just a bit from the railroad crossing, is this 5 and dime store. M.A. Pickett Stores, department store. That's pretty nice, pretty cool. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about the Civil War era and what happened here in Denton. So during the Civil War, many Denton men served in the Confederate units. While no major battles occurred here in the town itself, the war disrupted agricultural and trade. After the war, Denton faced the hardships of Reconstruction, which was common, you know, across the South after the Civil War. Once the Civil War era ended, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Denton really started evolving from a farming village into a mill town with the rise of textile manufacturing. Mills provided jobs, shaped neighborhoods, churches, and schools. This period firmly established Denton as a working class community. So when I first arrived in town, I thought this was just like a snazzy cash points or ATM, but it is actually a public information booth. The town of Denton. How cool is that? I don't think I've ever seen a small town with a booth quite like this. Town of Denton, a great place to live and grow. Established in 1907 here in North Carolina. And you can kind of see it is very, very small, but they have all kind of little maps to Thomasville in there and Lexington, surrounding areas, like an announcement board. That's pretty cool. And then right across the street, right over there where those flags are flying, that is Harrison Park. That's where we kind of did my opening. But right here is the Denton U.S. Post Office, right across the street from me. Okay, so right here on the corner of North Main Street and Salisbury Ave is this awesome looking building. Look at this. It's an old brick building. It says bank up there. And there's nothing in it today. It's actually for sale. Matter of fact, sale pending. Somebody's in the process of purchasing this really nice building right here in downtown Denton. And my research tells me that the building dates back to the 1930s. So obviously maybe it was a bank way back then. But the last thing that we ran out of this building was a weekly newspaper here in town. So once the mills got up and moving here in town, it really solidified the area. You know, the town ended up being incorporated in 1907. The schools, the banks, the civic organizations followed, strengthening the community ties. And then, at that time, that's when the Great Depression and World War II come about. The Great Depression hit Denton hard, but the mills helped sustain the families. During World War II, local men and women served overseas while mills supported wartime production efforts here at home. Okay, check this out. This here is the Buttercup Cafe and Catering. And this does not look like any kind of cafe that I've ever seen before. And it shouldn't, because this right here back in the day, from what I found out online, this was an old gas station. So the building is identified by the Architectural Survey site as a former gas station, originally an Esso gas station, possibly dating all the way back to the 1930s. So probably how this worked, I'm thinking, I'm gonna throw a guess out there, they probably had some gas pumps like right here, you know, beneath this awning, and the driver of the car would actually pull in beneath the overhang, and it would probably ring a bell, and you would have a gas attendant that would come out, probably clean his windshield off, fill his car up with fuel, and then he would just pull out and be on his way. Okay, so next up, I've already talked to you about the Great Depression and World War II, and now that brings us to 1952. So in 1952, Denton became famous for the Southeast Old Threshers Reunion, a massive annual festival that celebrated like agricultural heritage. It brought national attention and remains the most iconic tradition here in Denton, North Carolina. And my goodness, I do not know what happened here. Look at the roof on this place. It is really in shambles up there at the top. This place used to be called, must have been a restaurant maybe. It was called the Vendor's Loft at one time. Maybe it was a restaurant, who knows, but whatever it is, this place is definitely must be condemned. It's in pretty bad shape with that roof, and look right up there. That is so weird how that wood is just been really shredded up, but it was actually protected You know, if you look at the siding that they have up there, the vinyl. But I don't know what happened there. How weird is that? But all that being said, I think it's a good time to get into demographics. Here in Denton, 95.94% is white. 1.92% is Asian. And 2.14% is mixed race. And I got to tell you something, I think this is the first time I've ever been to a small town here in North Carolina or South Carolina where it was 0.0% black people. No African Americans here. So now we're going to get into the income. So income per capita here in Denton, North Carolina is $20,120, which is below the North Carolina $26,779 and well below the national average at $29,829. And then the median household income is what's most importantly, $35,250. And as you can see, that is well below the North Carolina $48,256 and the national at $55,322. And then if we scroll down a little bit, you can see the poverty level down there at the bottom, 16.8%, which is right on par with North Carolina's 16.8, but slightly above the national average of 15.1. And now let's take a look at crime. Crime here in Denton is 1.0 per 1,000, which is actually really good. And that equates to 1,076 per 100K, which is well below the North Carolina 2.3 per 1,000 or 2.1 national. And then look at violent crimes, only a 173 estimate. 173 per 100K, that's really good. That's well below North Carolina and the national. So that's some really good stuff. And then when we look at that in a percentage, it really breaks it down nicely here. The total crime is 49% below the national average, and the violent crimes are 52% below the national average. And then property crime is 49% below the national average. So those are some really good numbers, and really makes me think this is a very safe town to live in. I love this colorful mural right here on the side of this building. Buy local, it says. 100% always support local. I mean, really. And you can find that beautiful mural right here at Robert's Farm Market. That is really nice. Let's walk up here and see some of their information. Robert's Farm Market. Sunday, Wednesday is closed. Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, the same. Saturdays, they are open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there's their phone number if you want to call ahead before you arrive here at Robert's Farm Market in Denton, North Carolina. And man, the wind is really a whipping. Whoo! That wind chill is brutal. And speaking of being chilly, look at this sign right up here. This here is called the chill factor. Not fear factor, but chill factor. It's a ice cream and sandwich shop right here on South Main. Nice. My goodness, look at this vintage flatbed steak truck. Most likely this is the International Harvester. Probably dates in the late 1940s, the early 50s, and it's actually for sale. So, you know, if you're into this type of stuff, you like vintage items, you can have it for $10,000. It's even got a windshield wiper. At least one of them has an actual wiper on it. The other one you would have to replace, but I think that's probably the least of your worries if you're buying this whole thing. But still, nonetheless, it looks awesome. That is really cool. So this building right here on South Main Street looks pretty cool. Don't know what that used to be, but who knows? It could have been a car dealership. It could have been a garage to change oil, work on vehicles. And who knows? It might even been a fire department, but probably not. But it does have that bay door over there that kind of made me wonder if it was some type of a fire department or something, but couldn't really find anything online. We have to kind of lean on the locals. If they might know, they can chime in the comments. But Denton Eye Clinic right here is also another really interesting looking building. Couldn't really find anything. And then right next door you got Southern Amusements. So that will pretty much wrap it up. Well, almost wrap it up. I got one more really cool thing to show you here on South Main Street, right behind me. So the wind is really whipping that Esso gas station sign up there, and right here on the corner of Peacock Ave and South Main Street. And look at this 1930s Esso gas station right here. This is so cool in the Art Deco style. They got some old hot rods out here. This is so cool. Look at this old Pepsi drink machine over here. What the heck? You don't ever see these out. You know, I see Coca-Cola from time to time, and very rarely, sometime you might see some Mountain Dew stuff on the side of a building. But to actually have a stand-up Pepsi like machine like this, bottle machine, that's pretty rare. And then right next to it, we have this Coca-Cola bottle machine, which that's before my time. This version of it. Never seen this before. Ice cold, it says down there at the bottom. And oh my God, check that out. It's got a little fountain on the side of it. Now, did that fountain just give you water, or did it give you some Coke? That would be so cool if it actually gave you Coke. And I got to make reference to, they do have a Sheriff Mayberry squad car out here off the Andy Griffith Show. You know, I was always a fan of that. My parents used to watch the Andy Griffith Show, and you know, you don't ever see them outside of Mayberry all that often. You can find them around town or around the state of North Carolina here and there, but I think it's kind of cool. And check this out, man. He wasn't playing, because he's actually got a bumper. If you try to escape in Mayberry, he will actually put the bumper to you. He'd turn you around. He'd do a Dale Earnhardt move on to give you a bump and run, rough you up a little bit. But I just want to kind of walk around this old Art Deco style gas station. Got the pumps out here. Everything is in amazing condition. It looks rustic, but it's like taken care of all at the same time. Yeah, this is really cool. Check out the old bay doors over here, man. Dude, they got some old classic cars in there too. I think they do. Yeah, check that out. A Chevrolet Impala SS. Yeah, man, that is awesome. That is really, really cool. Oh my gosh, what is this? They got an arcade machine in there. Don't know what that is. It's got some monkeys on it, and maybe it's an Australian arcade machine. It's not Mortal Kombat or Pac-Man. I probably don't know much about it. And right here next to the entrance to this old gas station, they have a Coca-Cola ice box where they keep some Cokes, bottles of Cokes back in the day. Right there is where the cap opener is located. They also want to make sure you know that it's not just Coke here, it's also Pepsi is sold here. And check that out. Wow. Look at that. Now that is awesome. Oh, pinball machine, Playboy. Oh, Hugh Hefner on there. What the heck? That is so cool. My goodness, man, this place is a real treasure trove of good stuff in there. That is so neat. I think that's going to complete the video in the downtown area. Now I want to make my way over to the farm park area where they hold all their festivals throughout the year, and go check that out. And then we're going to wrap our vlog up today, because this wind is brutal. It is insanely cold. So I'm ready to end this. I'm ready to go get in the car and turn some heat on and get my fingers thawed out. Probably should have brought gloves, but to be honest with you, I've done the glove thing before. I'd do it if it's snowing, if I'm in that kind of a vlog. But for days like this, sometimes it's just easier when you're not filming, just put your hands in your pockets. Because when you got those gloves on, it really makes it difficult to push these little buttons and stuff on this camera. And it just annoys me a lot of times, so I don't even mess with the gloves. So let's go ahead and head on over to the farm park now and wrap things up. I might go get me a second coffee once I leave this area. Okay, and right here is the entrance to the Denton Farm Park, and for whatever reason, the gate's actually open. I don't know if it stays open all the time. I was under the thought process of this was not going to be open today. But heck with it. We're just going to kind of drive through here and kind of see what we can see. They still have all their Christmas decor up, I noticed. It's their Christmas time. Look at this. Look at all the ducks out there. Or geese. Check them out. Oh yeah, don't worry, I ain't getting out of the vehicle. I know what y'all do to people. You will start chirping and going crazy, and yeah, I've been chased by guys just like you before. Not today, my friends. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy your freezing cold water out there. Yeah, so I seen online where they have a train here. It's kind of like Tweetsy. They actually have a train where it will kind of take you around the park. That is pretty cool. Okay, so I just drove up the driveway here. As you can see, the old homesteads they have here on property. That is really cool. And they got some shops. They got all kinds of stuff inside. You can go online and look at their website a little bit to kind of see what they have here. But it is indeed closed, because right here is the ticket booth. They got a stop sign here. This here is where, I guess, where you would actually purchase your ticket to be able to go inside. But yeah, this is a really cool spot. So I have to talk to my wife, and maybe at some point in time in the future, maybe we can come out here and do a little something in this location. So all that being said, my friends, I'm pretty much done today. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I had a great time in Denton. Until next time, I'm the Hitchhiking Yeti, and I will see you on my next adventure. Y'all stay safe. I hope to see you all again soon. This was awesome. I will definitely be back to this place. It's going to be pretty cool.